Frankie boy, I want to welcome you to Orono High School. 50 years ago, Frank Jordan was a senior at this high school. Okay, came from VZ. Great athlete here. Got drafted and went to Vietnam. And I've known Frank now for 12 years. Frank, we had a great friendship. You've been a big supporter of Orono High School with all the apparel you buy for the sports teams. Worked at Emerson's. Golf tournaments at University of Maine. He's a big supporter of University of Maine athletics. And but today, Frank, I think we want to thank you for being in the armed forces of the United States of America.
Thanks.
For all the service that you've done for us. You guys know this course is war and human experience, and these students have read a lot of works on war all the way through, and they've seen some very good films, but they have not talked to a person who served in war. So we'll hear some insight from somebody who was on the inside, and that's what it's all about. Vietnam, 59,000 lives were lost. About 135,000 were wounded. Okay, Frank was wounded. He came back. Okay, and he was one of the fortunate ones.
You were stuck in the middle of it. Be advised, you ought to put a little ordnance down on that to destroy it.
50 years ago, here at Orono High School, how much did you know about Vietnam?
We just do a copy on that, and I want to know, are you absolutely sure that Lurch is dead? That Lurch is dead? Can't hear you.
Actually, the only thing I knew about Vietnam was they had actually come out with comic books.
Copy. Was that a negative or an affirmative?
You know, I was a big Sergeant Rock fan who was a big comic book guy and everything, and out of World War II. And then they came out with all these new comic books, and I didn't understand them because they were always fighting the VC. I had no idea what they were talking about. I went to the University of Maine. I ended up getting married, so I dropped out of school up there, and we had a son, Bill, and everything, but the marriage, I wasn't ready for it. I was married at 19, divorced by the time I was 20. A little after I was 20, sometime in my 20th year. Uncle Sam found out. I was working for Bucksport Paper at the time. He sent me the great letter that everybody got, greetings and salutations, and we want you. So I went down, and I actually went down with a great athlete and my best friend from high school, Red St. Louis, who just passed away. My knees bothered me a little and everything from football, and geez, you know, I've got an all-state guard with me and my best friend, and he flunks out and I go. He kept saying, huh. He guess he had a hearing problem, I guess, but he didn't have a hearing problem when he wanted the ball, I can tell you that, because he always wanted the ball. I'm open. I had child support. I had to pay it. There was no getting around it. You know, it was the right thing to do. So I went down and talked to a recruiter, and he smoothly talked me into 3 years instead of 2. But back then, if you went for the full 3 years, you didn't have to do any reserve time. And the guys that did 3 or 4 years, had to do 3 or 4 years of reserve time, which I didn't want to do every Saturday or one Saturday a month or whatever it was. So I go through basic training, I go to school, everything they promised me, and then I get down to Fort Campbell, home of the 101st Airborne Division. Great division. Tough. General Omar Bassani was a general down there. He didn't care if school kept or not. He ran a tight ship, and they were getting ready for Operation Geronimo. So I ended up working in personnel with them and helping them. And my job actually was to find people that were AWOL. All right, people that skipped out. We ran full-page ads all across the country, and we were getting calls, and I slept right at a desk for about a 3-week period. I never left the office except to go and clean up and come back and eat. And we got guys from out of jail everywhere. You know, division's going, I want to go. There was another kid that was there, young man, Bruce Glanville, Orono High School graduate, came to me and said, "Jesus, Frankie, you know, we've been friends a long time, high school, all this, blah, blah, blah." I go, "Yeah, but I can't get you off. You know, you're going, because I know I'm going. You're going too." And Bruce went, and he had a very hard tour, and he doesn't do very well today. And you're all 18, 19-year-old kids, most of you. So 1 out of every 4 guys, you can count them off, boys and girls, he ain't coming home.
I'm here too.
They flew me up to Quignon. They didn't have anything for me there. They sent me over to play Coup, which is here, and really play Coup is right. The 4th Division base is right up here, and I ended up in there anyways. I was a LURP. Recon really started in '67 with the 75th Rangers, which was formerly Merrill's Marauders. You might have heard of them in World War II. They were a highly decorated unit. They were the most decorated unit in World War II. Different times, Major General Stone took over in '68. They tried to train South Vietnamese to be LURPs. They put them through all this training and all this, and some of the same stuff that we had to go through, and they couldn't do it. We couldn't keep them out there. You know, they'd deed him out, they'd be gone, Christ. You know, they'd see something and they'd run like a scared rabbit, you know. I found that most of the Arvins over there weren't very reliable. There was another breed of cat over there called the Mountain Yard. They were a 2nd class, 3rd class citizen in Vietnam. They're darker skinned. Most of them wore loincloths and maybe a shirt or two, and most of them were barefoot most of the time. When we first got there, a lot of them hunted just with bow guns and blowguns and spears. If you saw the movie Apocalypse Now, near the end of the movie when the major goes up the river and all this stuff, and he gets up there and these guys are in the trees and shooting these little arrows, those are the Mountain Yards. Okay, but if you've got them on your side, if they say, "I'm staying till 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, no matter what happens between now and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning," they're there. 10:01, thanks for coming. They're probably gone. But if they say they're going to stay to a certain time, they'll stay, they'll fight, they'll die for you. And I loved them. Being in the Highlands and where they were, one of the easiest things for us to do was sometimes, you know, we're out on a long mission, was we'd try to find a yard village, and we'd stay with them because they'd protect us. We could actually sleep at night, all 5 guys, because we were a 5-man unit. This is a picture of the Minh Yang Pass. All right, up around here is An Khê Pass down. This is the Minh Yang Pass, and this is going off to Pleiku. We'll pass this around so you can see it. This place right here that's kind of open right now was all trees when I first got there, and I was in a Jeep right here. When we got hit, they blew up a truck right here and stopped the whole convoy. And
So you came coming down?
Yeah, coming down from the top. You can see it when you come around. There's trucks going. They're carrying the big trucks. They're carrying JP4, which is jet fuel, over to Pleiku Air Force Base. And this is where I first got bloodied up here. We got hit. My officer got hit, the driver got killed, and I ended up on a M60 for my first true test of could I fire the thing. I learned to fire it pretty good, pretty quick. And a lot of the Vietnamese that they had were NVA here, because it was still 68, they just ran and they had no weapons, and they were just stealing stuff off the truck. And it's like shooting fish in a barrel, except the barrel kind of shoots back at you sometimes. And usually if you're shooting at somebody else, somebody over here is shooting at you, so you don't worry about the guy with no gun. You're looking for the guy that is showing. This is I was able to obtain this picture just recently, you know, within the last 3 years. It's a very important one to me because, you know, again, that's the first time that I was actually saw action that I had to fire at.
Frankie, after going through boot camp, and you're in this area, this is really the first time that you really felt, this isn't the playground anymore, this is the real McCoy.
Oh yeah, well I already knew it was a real McCoy because coming in, we got hit 2 or 3 times. They tried to, down at Benoit, they actually came on up the line trying to blow up planes at the Air Force Base in Benoit, and there was a company just happened to be a company of 101st Airborne Division boys, and a couple of them I knew, but they were there. They went out and made short work of those guys, and that's when I realized that, you know, because I still didn't have a weapon at that point. Until I got up to play cool, I never had a weapon. Some guys went over with weapons, some guys didn't. You could stand here with 10 different Vietnam vets. You guys can sit here. We'll all tell you a story, and everyone's going to be different. Because we went alone, we came home alone, and it depends. I've got a great friend who that was his jacket, Ranger, Vietnam. His rifles was different. The medical equipment that they had, instead of just a patch and wrap somebody up, they had liquid skin, they had all kinds of stuff that we didn't have, and it was just a couple of years later, you know, maybe 2.5 years later. I would like to show you, this is my girlfriend. This is Hanoi Hannah. Say hello to Hannah, class. Come on now. This is what they actually look like, and there was a lot of women in the war. Okay? She's wearing the VC hat, little pin, VC outfit. This here, little to do is, was usually filled with rice. And this is what they did. They carried their rice on them. So this was their food supply. This is a AK-47 belt, ammo belt that they carried the AK-47s in. And she's wearing an original South Vietnamese belt with the star on it. Very hard to come by. We used to sell these because we used to take them off of guys, and we used to get about $50 a piece for them from pilots. That was one of the things the pilots wanted. They wanted that, the 9mm Chi-Com pistol. You might sell your second one. Your first one you always kept because you always had one with you. That was part of your uniform. This is a shirt off an NVA officer that I personally sent to be with his forefathers. Okay? See how small this thing is? I mean, that's the size of most of the Vietnamese right there. They were tiny people. They were tough, and if you, theoretically, you know, if you got in hand-to-hand with them, you should win. There's only 2 kinds of people in combat. Do you know what they are? Anybody have a guess? the quick and the dead. All right? And a lot of times these guys are pretty quick. This guy, a little slow. Besides, he didn't get killed in hand-to-hand.
You shot him with a 9mm, Frankie, or a rifle?
Shot him with an AK-47.
How did you get that?
Took it off him. He's dead. When you die in combat, all right, number one, there are no rules, okay? But the number one rule, if there's a rule, is if I kill you, I own everything on you. So I take everything, if this time, I take anything I want off you. Certain papers have to go to a certain thing. Everybody is a senior guy in my outfit. When I was recon team leader, I got all the infos. Anything else, if there was money on you, they took it. If there was rings on you, or there was a chain on you, or if you happen to be one of the Vietnamese people with gold in your teeth, okay? This is your bayonet. Set it above the tooth. You hit it like that and the tooth comes right out. I've got a necklace somewhere, all the gold I took from teeth I had melted down and I had made into an ear, a gold ear, solid gold ear. We carried our ears usually on a belt. You know, I kill you, take one ear off, stick it on my belt. It's one of my kills. When other Vietnamese saw you, they kind of like did this. You didn't have to worry about them getting around you because they didn't want any part of you. This is the equipment of a ranger here. Ammo pouch. A lot of people put ammo in them. That's what they were for. Some of us put these things in them. This is the regular pineapple grenade. You boys on the end, I understand you play a little baseball. Catch. This is the baseball grenade, okay? And you didn't do this, okay? If you did that, it might go out there, but you're not going to throw another one. Your arm's going to be hanging right down, so you did this. You lobbed them. Canteens. Back when men were men and mice were mice, before they decided to give everybody a black beret in the military, which offended a lot of people, including myself, this was the beret we wore, all right? Because this meant something, okay? You were a cut above. You were a cut above. It wasn't the green beret, it was the black one. This is one of the SOG units I went to before I became a ranger, actually. I was in a SOG unit. I was in Echo Company 58 Infantry Battalion. We were the LRPs, Long Range Recon Patrol, for the boys, for the 4th Division. And another knife that a lot of us carried in your boot, very similar to this. And every good ranger would have a hatchet. Pretty good when it comes into hand-to-hand too. Kills on both ends, you know. This is a K-bar, all right? This is the #1 fighting knife in the military since World War II. They all carried it. The Marines carried it. Some of the Army carried it. This was from the Marines. Most good recon guys, if they didn't have one, they traded and got one. Or somebody in the unit could get them one. Okay? USMC. That's what they look like. This is what mine looked like. This one's been sharpened a number of times. This has been used in combat a number of times. I wore it here. Easy access. This is the Bowie. The difference between this one and mine was my friend, my Montagnard friend who kept that thing sharp, had sharpened it up so you could actually shave with it, and he sharpened it all the way back here. Kill either way. I decapitated a man with this. Not intentionally at the time. He was coming. I tried to hit him. Again, swinging this way, being a small guy. People do take extra steps after they're dead, by the way. This guy was living proof of it.
Most of those attacks come at night, Frank, or did they come during the day?
We own the day, they own the night.
That's the expression that you hear in a lot of Let Us Home from Vietnam film.
Yeah,
Charlie owned the night, we own the day.
that's right. These are our calling cards. All right, I kill you. Stick it in your pocket, open your mouth, stick it in your teeth, open your mouth up, bend it, stick it in there. So when the rest of the boys come along to take you and bury you, your boys, they already know I've been there. On the lookout, I'm still there. These are another ones that we left along the trail. My business is death. I kill for my living. I am very good at my job because I enjoy it so much. We want them to know we were there and that we could kill them at any time. And we had no problem at doing it. Some of these were personally taken in combat after we went into places. Some of them I have an arrangement with a guy in Vietnam that was in the Vietnam War on the other side. I made friends with him, with Tron, and Tron and I have worked together doing a few things. Here's again another pistol belt with a star. Another one real cheap, but a lot of this stuff was real cheap leather. That's with a star, different star. This is a bag. This is actually an officer would wear this over his shoulder. That carries 9mm. This one carries AK-47s. A couple of ribbons from them. These are the helmets that they wore. This is what it looked like when it was new. After it was worn for a while, and these are the ones that they wore. A lot of them wore with all this camouflage stuff in there. They got from the United States. All that stuff came from us. Another hat there. There's a Red Cross bag here. That was actually not a red. It's a Red Cross because that's what it is. But this is an actual bag. This is an NBA bag that they use. This is their medicine bag. This is what they had here. It's an officer, senior cadre. Don't have a red one here with me. I think I got one somewhere. The black one, scarf, was worn by many. Okay, this scarf was usually VC. Okay, this blue one was VC, I think in a Delta. And this was up towards I-Corps. They're different ones. You could tell if they're real or not because the real ones, all the black and white ones, have a red stripe, maroon stripe going through it. They did it just for me because they knew I was from Orono. They just put it in. I mean, I just assumed that anyways. Oh. These flags, both of them are so. These flags here like this, on that color, they're National Liberation Front flags. That's your VC, everything. That's a battle flag up there. That one says 68. These are all the different ones from different battles and things that are around. There's a couple over there. The Red Star is just NBA. And, you know, you had to realize too that China was involved in the war. Okay, they say what they want. China was involved in the war. We actually ended up fighting some Chinese advisors and things. We'd find them and things. On the map, I can just show you. This is Pleiku. Dark toes here. I mean, Kontum's here. Dark toes here.
Roger, this is 2. That Strian's pretty seriously wounded. He's back here. But I don't know. I'll ask him if he wants to go back to Donto or go to Pleiku or what.
Okay. So now you can see that this is Cambodia. Okay. And you can see this is Laos. All right, we went in there in 1970, 71. 4th Division went in, okay? I was there in 68, okay? And that's why I'm 100% disabled from the war with 70% from post-traumatic stress. I had to prove it and prove it and prove it. It took me years, but because they said we weren't there. Because our government wasn't there. If anything I can tell you guys and girls, ask questions. Ask questions about your government because it lies to you every day. Every single day. They're lying about something. Okay, where we are, why we're there, you know. They did it in Vietnam, they did it afterwards with the Contras in South America. You know, they've done it for years. SOG. Studies and Operations Group. BS. SOG, Special Operations Group. Really what it was. But they wanted to call it something else. They did kill raids. That's all it was. They were kill teams. Everything was black ops. That was the first black ops. The LRPs were the first to paint their faces. Okay? World War II, Korea, yeah, they put a little crap on them, but to actually paint your face was the LRPs. And anyways, I was in SOG for about a month. That was pretty tough. I couldn't handle it. There was 3 different SOG units. CCC, which was in Kontum, CCS was in Bami Tort, and CCN, which was north, was up in Da Nang, out of Da Nang. What did I do in my free time?
If you did.
I drank. No BS. I'll tell you, I didn't do drugs in Vietnam. Okay? I had a rule. You can drink all you want. You can smoke all the joints you want. I don't give a crap if you shoot yourself up, if you're on my team. But a day before, nothing happens. And if you go out with me and I find out you get hit, I'm leaving you. I'm going to leave you there. I'm going to let Charlie catch you. I'm going to let him do whatever he wants to you. He didn't have any problems. Everybody was straight and sober. Nobody wanted to be left out there. I never left anybody in combat that was alive. One day I had to leave 3 guys. I had 3 dead, 1 wounded, and me. We got hit. Friendly fire. This, one of the scariest things you ever want to hear if you're in combat. Okay? Because this used to mean there was a bunch of them. There's 50 or 100 behind it. And they were coming to get you. It was a full-blown charge. And there was all kinds of these, blowing everywhere. We get hit at Khartoum, there was 5,000 hit our compound. There was 342 men in that compound. There was no JVs. There was no just varsities. Everybody was an All-American. 13 men came out. 329 died. This is what it sounded like. And then I'll give the little added stuff, because this is really a combat. This isn't just a whistle you pick up at White's or someplace else. This is a Vietnam combat whistle. Go ahead. And the officers would have these, and they're blowing these and everything else. They didn't realize that when you blow this thing, you know, or that, I knew where he was. Blow it a couple times, I'm putting 3 or 4 rounds down there, or a whole clip down that way, because I'm getting an officer. Or if we're lucky to get one of those. That came from a gentleman in Vietnam who blew that during the war for the NVA. Would not sell this piece. Wouldn't sell it. But let this piece go because it figured it didn't work. Would not sell this piece. I said, no problem. I want the piece. Paid for the piece. I already had 2 or 3 of these flags. Because sometimes see the little red flag there in the middle, that little triangle one right in the middle here. Yep. Sometimes those hung down from them too. All right, this is a Sally pack. Okay, this came in mid '68. This is what we carried, was the X-back pack. Okay, very small, very compact. That weighed way too much, anyways. You know, and you couldn't carry everything else. You know, if I had that, I couldn't carry one of my knives or something, or one of the other things. NVA officer didn't make it home. That's how small he was. Jeez. It's the only way I could beat him up. This is a military watch, you know, and that's a 20 dong piece. That's worth quite a bit of money now, because it's almost on circuit. It's on really basically was mine. And it's 20 dong, and it's from 1968. It was a brand new one in '68. Here's some of the cards they gave us. George, when you saw, I can get paid $10,000. Oh, you know the thing I didn't tell them was about one of the recon teams, Recon Team Maine. Recon Team Maine was really Project Phoenix. Okay, and Project Phoenix was a cleansing thing, and everybody here was just professional killers. Recon Team Maine not only worked in Vietnam, it worked in Europe. All right, it went to France and did away with some of those guys that wouldn't vote the right way. Got in the elevator, and actually there's a guy. Forget the telepathy. There's a guy from Greenville, that was in this team, that I know personally. You know, do you miss your wife? You know, death watches you. Next time you die, you know, these are all theirs. This is nothing. I didn't really bring it up, but yeah, if you're going to film it here. Ho Chi Minh sandals.
Is that right? Really?
Really. This is what they use. This is what they made of. This is what they look like. Some of them had different treads on this on the bottom, but this is the Ho Chi Minh sandal. over there. This is what a lot of the VC wore, a lot of some of the NBA actually wore. Depending on where you were and what you were doing, obviously, you know, there's a book there on Vietnam, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do, which is kind of BS because you did what you want. Anyways, this was used. A lot of the NCOs or officers had them, but this was used a lot. This was used for by the tunnel rats. And a real good friend of mine, who I knew in high school because he went to Old Town, Jerry Sear. That's what he was. He was a tunnel rat. He was a tunnel rat for the 82nd. And Jerry has a lot of problems with that now, but you know, that because it shows red, so you know, you can get some light, but you don't want to be flashing a light when you're coming up over. Let me be flashing light and see somebody could shoot me in the head. You know, you see where it is, and get up there, get ready, put the light up. If somebody was there, if somebody moves, you shoot them. You know, I was asked to go in a tunnel. I'm not sure if my feet get in it, because I was going in head first before I decided I'm coming out. I'd had all I wanted in a hurry. And I just told the boys, I says, I didn't lose nothing down there. I'm not going back down there for nothing. And we blew the tunnel instead. Let's just blow it. The old man wanted us to go down there.
You put one of these in there or this?
No, Jay, put C4 in there.
C4?
C4, blow it. But those a lot of times were tossed in. You know, if you were smart, if you were going into a hooch or something, you were in a villa or in a town going through some stuff, and you're going door to door or anything, you kicked the door and that went in first. I mean, that was it. I was scared to death of them. I'll be honest with you, I was scared to death of grenades because I figured it out real early. They didn't know who was throwing them. You didn't throw them far enough, they'll kill you. You know, I wasn't big on that. You know.
Mr. Jordan, you tell Mr. Cowan about the one with the girl, how she put it in the pant leg or something earlier?
There was a boy, a little boy.
Oh, I'm sorry, boy.
Yeah, a little boy ran up and you had pockets on your pants here, and he grabbed it and he just took a grenade. The pin was out, stuck it in there. The guy couldn't get it out fast enough, blew him up.
Yeah. I remember that story. That's one you told my kids at Babst
Yeah,
a bunch of years ago. Some of these I remember from that.
yeah,
Yeah.
the little girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that still haunts me.
Yeah.
She was trying to get to us, and I told somebody else to shoot her twice. He wouldn't shoot her. I don't blame him in a way. I shot her, she blew up. But she was going to kill 7, 8, 9 guys. You know, either let her kill them or you got to do what you got to do. You know, some of this stuff. Yeah, I've got since I was down there, I've firmed up my collection.
Yeah, yeah, because you didn't bring much stuff with you when you used to come in.
No.
You had some great stories, but
Did you meet my girl?
no.
This is Hanoi Hannah. This is Hannah. She's a sweet little thing. She's a VC. She's got her little, as you can see, these tie off. This is her, that holds her rice so she can eat. She's got her AK-47 belt on so she can carry plenty of ammunition. She's got the real live scarf, the right one. Got the red line through it, so you know it's true. She's got the belt buckle with a cloth belt with the star on it. Yeah, Hannah's a handful sometimes, but you know, used to see her running through the jungle and running through the rice paddies. She was quite a girl, and they used a lot of them. They used a lot of women. You'd be surprised. But after mid to late 1968, there was hardly any VC in the country. They called them VC.
Yeah, but they were all
They were all MVA.
They're all from the north, yeah.
We, Tet of 68, we killed off 75%, 70, 75, 80% were killed off Tet of 68. You know, they hit every village, they hit every major compound, and everything was hit. And we killed a lot of them off. My first day of high school, my senior year, I was in the room over here. Yeah, about third period, and had a brand new teacher, Mr. Gross. Brand new. Thought he knew it all. He was going to show us everything. So, anyways, we're all sitting down, and I was like this, and this young lady in front of me was a good friend of mine, Diane. I had seen her the night before up at the steam plant. We'd been up the steam plant in Orono watching the submarine races with our girlfriends and boyfriends and there. So, anyways, Mr. Gross said, "No more smiling." So Diane, in her own way, she drops a pencil, she reaches down, she looks back, and she goes, "Did you get lucky last night?" I kind of smiled, kind of big. Mr. Gross walked up, slapped me across the face. Obviously couldn't happen today. Before I realized it, I'd come out of the chair, I had hit Mr. Gross on the chin, knocked him over the next set of seats, and he was out cold. So they said, Mr. Roby came in. He was the head of the English department, and he goes, "What happened?" I'm standing there, I said, "I just decked Mr. Gross." Those are the words we used back then. He goes, "I think you better go to the office." So down to the office I went, and Grover McLaughlin was Sneaker Peek. That was his nickname, Sneaker Peek. He was the principal here, Big Grover. So Grover goes, my nickname then was YA, for Y.A. Tittle. And Grover goes, "YA, what are you doing here?" I said, "I just dropped Mr. Gross." He goes, "What?" I said, "I just dropped him. He's out." He goes, "Sit in that chair." So I sat in the chair. He comes all the way down. He's up in the old school. So then he comes back. He goes, "YA, you're out of here. Go." So I go home to face my mother, which wasn't pretty. "First day of school, you're out. What am I doing? What are you doing?" So I don't know. Maybe I'm going to Bangor this year. I don't know. About an hour later, Wally Koval comes down, Teddy's father. Well, Wally was my baseball, my football coach. So he talks to my mother, looks at me, "Get in the car." We get to the Oronoka, where the Oronoka is, before he speaks to me. Finally he says, "I don't want you to talk to Mr. Gross. I don't want you to have any dealings with him. I've got you in a different English class, everything else. Your last period of the day you have is a study hall." I go, "Yeah, okay. I'll see you at study hall." So for 3 weeks, Mr. Koval and I became real close friends. Last period, I suited up in my football uniform, and I ran. And I ran. And I ran so much I didn't think I'd ever run again. And then I did sit-ups, I did push-ups, I did everything else, and I ran. And then I got lucky, and the team came out, and now I could do football practice and run again. But that football practice became real easy. But Coach taught me one thing, that I could do more, and I wasn't going to quit. That I wasn't a quitter. Anybody can quit. Anybody can stop. The only person you're quitting on is yourself. So when the going gets tough, obviously they say the tough get going. But that's how I got mentally tough for Vietnam. And I told Coach years ago that one of the reasons I think I made it through Vietnam was because of Coach Koval. You don't understand it as a young man or a young lady what you're getting from school. You don't realize that this is the easiest part of your life. You don't realize that you're learning things about yourself that will help you later on in life, no matter what you do, whether you play sports or you don't play sports, whether you're a team player or you think you're better than everybody else. You know, the hot shots, the guys that come out early, thought they were hot shots. They didn't make it. They washed out. I watched a documentary yesterday on some troops from Fort Campbell. I don't know if I could have done what they did back then. The training that they had today, when we didn't have that training. I did 8 weeks of basic because they had to go quick because there was an outbreak of spinal meningitis and they were just driving troops through Fort Dix. You know, then I got my AIT and, you know, got some training there, and I ended up getting my best training on the job in Vietnam. Reality, they said it should have sent me back to Fort Benning, Georgia to get my patch, you know, to be a ranger and shit. But when we asked them to send us back, they declined our offer, saying that they thought the first night out we might have the instructor on a spigot over a fire or something. We already knew more than what we were going to be taught. But that's how I made it. We figured it out, okay? There were certain battles where all they cared about was body count, body count, body count. So we give them body count. We did a double LRP, 10 guys. We went up north to the A Shaw Valley. Nobody wants to go to the A Shaw. Charlie owns the A Shaw. Charlie had tanks in the A Shaw. Mr. Charles was in the A Shaw, and he ruled it. They want to send recon team in. They sent a double team in. We landed 2 different choppers, 2 different areas, met up at a point. A couple of the guys had been there once before. I had not. None of my team had been there. There was a big cave up in there on the side of the mountains. We made that our headquarters. We stayed there for 2.5 days in the cave. Drank from our canteens, which was, one of mine always had vodka 7 in it, just in case we get in a place where, you know, we couldn't, just had to have a drink. But we stayed there, scouted the area. We called in for an airstrike. We called in for a major artillery strike. We called in for an extraction. They pulled our asses out. Boom. We went down. We told them how many we killed, approximately, and what we'd done. The problem was we never checked it out. We didn't go down that valley. And nothing down there we lost. We wouldn't have been there if we didn't want to be there in the first place, so we just gave them a fake body kill. Boom, 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 put it up. Guys did a great job. I think one of those medals over there came from that little soiree we had, but we didn't have it. Another one I know was down in the Delta. They called in and said that this, you know, there was a big battle and they killed so many VC, NVA down in the Delta. When they went out in the coordinates, some of the news people actually went out. They found out the coordinates there, and everything was underwater. There was no battle. It was a fake one. They just put it up on the board. You know, they wanted body count. Yeah, you give them body count. You know, if you found a boot, if you found an arm over here, that was a dead one. You know, they could have been the same person, but you get two different parts. It's two different people, you know. Did what you know, you just gave them what they wanted after a while. You know, the vital information that we did give them helped us win the war where we were, because we could set up ambushes, attack zones. If we knew there was a battalion or a company of NVA in a certain area, and we knew that there was approximately 140 men to 500 men, whatever it was, and they were in an area, we could radio it back. They could line up the choppers and come in battalion strength or company strength or whatever they wanted to come in. And, you know, and usually when that happened, we D'd him out. We get out of there, because we didn't want any part of it. You know, that wasn't our job. My job was to find them, you kill them, I find them, you kill them, you know, for the most part. You know, I'm not going to be there to do the killing for you if I don't have to, because, you know, then you got to find another me if I get killed. And I wasn't up for that. You know, I was up for getting my ass out of there alive. I kept telling everybody, my mama said, come home. Mrs. Jordan didn't raise any fools. She raised one that was a little idiot, but she wasn't no fool. We wanted to come home.
Frankie, we just got a couple minutes here before these guys
Yeah.
go to lunch. What message would you tell kids of this age, students of this age, about America and where if it's involved in war, it's got to go to war? What would you tell these guys?
I'd fight it all the way. You know, if I would fight it at the ballot box, you fight it any way you can. These kids that are going out there today have got no shot of having a life after the combat. It screwed me up, and I only spent 361 days in combat. These kids, a lot of these kids are going out, and they're going back the second, third, fourth time, and then they're coming home, and people are going, they're not right. How can they be right? If you're in intense combat for a while, you come out, you're not right anyways. You know, little things bother you. I remember I came home and the car backfired. I went right straight through a door on Main Street in Bangor. You know, flying right through the door, rolling over, you know, trying to get away from it, thinking somebody was shooting me. Today, in parades, I hate it when we come down Main Street and we stop because they don't know how long that idiot is going to talk up front, and then these guys are going to fire a volley. And when they do, you know, I've got to be looking at them and I've got to know what's happening, or I'm going to really jump. A couple of years ago, I almost decapitated a poor guy. I hit him. I just nicked his ear, but I fired one right by him. You know, the guns went off. I was ready to go to war. Like the old fire horse. You know, it happens. I mean, when 9/11 happened, I was ready to go serve. I was in no shape, but sign me up, I'm going back. You know, if you need me, I'll go.
That's your heart. That's not your head talking.
Oh, of course it is. Of course it's my heart. My head goes, Jesus Christ, you're 50 pounds over, 60 pounds overweight. Actually, I'm about 100 pounds, 80 pounds bigger than I was when I was in Vietnam. By the way, this is kind of shirt I wore, but boys and girls, it was a lot smaller. You could have worn my shirt.
Thank you. Thanks a million for coming in.
Yep.
Appreciate it. I know these guys appreciate it a lot.
All right.
I love you. Thanks for serving here.
so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for serving.